Today, we're going to start off with the Cleveland Cavaliers because while the Cavs still have unfinished business and are expected to bring back James Harden, they're looking to move Dennis Schroder to have more salary cap flexibility, and that may be why James Harden has not signed his new deal yet. And that matters because Cleveland Cavaliers have been linked to Jonathan Kuminga and also pursuits of Peyton Watson. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Plus, we'll talk about Ben Simmons reportedly having interest from multiple teams. I don't understand it, but we're going to talk about it. And Kobe White says that the Hornets can surprise people this season. We're going to talk about all that, plus yet another update in the Kawhi Leonard situation. All that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of the Full Court Podcast. My name is Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at the Full Court YT on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into this content for today, y'all. We'll start off in Cleveland, as I said, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are continually exploring opportunities to move Dennis Schroder. This comes from Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com that says this: the Cleveland Cavaliers still have unfinished business this season. The Cavs are still expected to re-sign veteran James Harden, but that contract will look like it's still dependent on what other additions the Cavs can make. And those other additions may depend on making moves to clear out some salary. One player the Cavs are exploring trading is Dennis Schroder. Cleveland would like to move Schroder and his $14.8 million salary for the upcoming season. The veteran point guard is owed $15.5 million in 2027-8, but only $4.4 million of that season is guaranteed. So, with that, Dennis Schroder, who has a fully guaranteed contract this year, a partially guaranteed contract, next season, which is similar to like what we saw with DeMar DeRozan this offseason, where the Sacramento Kings moved on from him, only had to give him a portion of the money back. So the question now is, should the Cavs move Dennis Schroder? And the side of this that says yes is $14.8 million is a lot of money, and it could free up quite a little bit of flexibility there for him, right? Moving him without taking the full salary back, it will put Cleveland about $37.6 million under the first tax apron, which, look at that and what they're trying to do, it can make some sense there. That flexibility could help the Cleveland Cavaliers pursue that sign and trade for Peyton Watson if that's what they want to do, right? Now, the team still does need to re-sign James Harden as well, but his bird rights can be used to re-sign him. So with them having pursuit reportedly of Jonathan Kuminga or Peyton Watson, if they're able to move Dennis Schroder's contract, it could clear a pathway for them to get one of those guys to add to this team. Now, the side of this of be careful is that I think Schroeder is still a very serviceable veteran point guard. And, when you chase kind of youth and upside, maybe that doesn't always work out for you. Now, I will say this, to me, if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, I'd rather go after Peyton Watson than Jonathan Kuminga. But there are some people that still believe in and that's the thing. It's not that you don't believe in what Kuminga could be. It's just at this point, like the money that he's asking for doesn't really quite fit the player that he is. But Dennis Schroder is even last season, almost 11 points per game on 40% shooting from the field. He shot the ball 32% from three, chipped in, almost 5 rebounds, 2.7 assists per game. And he got that mainly coming off the bench. Out of the 70 games he played, only 17 he started. And he played 24 minutes for the Cleveland Cavaliers team. So, this is still a guy that can be useful in the right situations and scenarios. So you got to be careful in that if you give him up, you better be sure you're going to be able to get one of those guys. But with Harden's contract still not resolved, sign and trade market still kind of being in flux of if you're going to be able to get guys or not, we'll see. But the question then becomes, if they are able to create that space, which one makes more sense for them? Is it Peyton Watson or is it Jonathan Kuminga? Kuminga, of course, is the bigger upside swing. And not to say that Peyton Watson's upside may still not be overall higher than Jonathan Kuminga. It's the fact that you're taking a huge swing. Like, I think the floor of Peyton Watson is much higher than the floor of Jonathan Kuminga because Peyton Watson at least is going to impact the defensive side of the ball, be a two-way player. Jonathan Kuminga has never been a consistent defender. He's never been a consistent offensive player either. Now, Kuminga would give them the athleticism. He's able to put pressure downhill on teams like that. And he does have the physical skills, at least the makeup that you look at, that can make some sense there. But when you look at it, I think that Watson is personally the cleaner fit there. He gives them the defensive versatility. He can guard multiple positions. His lower usage also, it fits more naturally. Again, Jonathan Kuminga is a heavy isolation on-ball player. He needs the ball a lot to score as effectively what he is. Peyton Watson has shown he doesn't need the ball to be impactful and help your team. And that's the reason why I say the upside of Peyton Watson personally is higher. And I think the length, the 3-and-D prototypical, play that he has there, it's all there. And I think that fits more with what they are lacking in the core there with Cleveland. But then also, of course, James Harden's contract situation. But at this point, I don't even think it's really a question. Like, James Harden's going to return to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's given them an opportunity to add something to this team before he re-signs his contract. And that's just it. I don't think this is messy. I've seen some things out there. I don't think it's messy. I think he's bought in with what they're doing and what their plan is there. They're keeping him abreast of it. And this is just all part of the plan to help the Cleveland Cavaliers to be a more solid championship contender next year, especially with all the changes that were happening in the Eastern Conference. But the Cavs are a perfect example why giving out offseason grades, even though I've done my episode on that already, it may be too early because there are still a number of players out there. There's still a number of teams that are looking to make deals before the opening of training camp. And I do think we're probably going to see one or two deals. Like, there's always that one deal that happens like a week before training camp or a couple days before training camp opens that kind of shocks some people. Maybe the Cavs are going to be that team this year. But let me know what you guys think down below. Moving on from that, Ben Simmons. Trying to come back to the NBA, which it's not. I didn't have on my bingo card coming into the season, but reportedly, according to Mark J. Spears, Simmons is generating interest from multiple NBA teams. Simmons also has one non-guaranteed contract offer from a Western Conference team reportedly on the table, and he's also set to participate in a player-led minicamp for the Australian men's basketball team starting today on Monday. Now, we know that Ben Simmons did not play in the NBA last season. He's now 30 years old as well. And with this, should teams take another chance on a flawed player in Ben Simmons? And I'll say, any player is worth taking a chance on if the deal is right? If the deal is right, a non-guaranteed deal is low enough of a risk for any NBA team that it can make sense for most of them, right? You can help his role being limited. If he still is able to be a player that can defend, facilitate other players, if he can do that, there's there, right? And I also say this, if he says that he can play with zero restrictions, I can't blame teams for taking a look at seeing, all right, what's the reality of him being able to maybe help us, right? A team with the right structure could use him as a connector, could use him as a defender, and maybe there's there. But let's not act like the concerns about Ben Simmons have all of a sudden gone away because now he says that he's healthy. He didn't play in the NBA last season. He averaged only 2.9 points, 3.8 rebounds in 17 games with the Clippers in 2025. He's not appeared in more than 60 games since 2018-19, so there's their part of it. And the offensive limitations and his outright just fear of shooting the open three or open shot sometime is there, right? So I do think the league in a lot of ways has moved on from the concept or even the idea of Ben Simmons being a major piece for a team unless he proves that wrong. And that's why I say, like, if any risk is worth it on the right deal. A 1-year non-guaranteed deal is not a bad thing there. And I think when you look at Ben Simmons and what the perfect role for him to be is a defensive connector, right? You can use him as a forward-sized passer, which is something that benefits him. If you have shooters on your roster and shooters around him, he's there. He can guard multiple positions, like theoretically. And I do think if you let him push the tempo and let him move the ball and you have those shooters and cutters around him, there's still a world in which maybe Ben Simmons can thrive in that coming off the bench for a team. But there is still, the fit is very hard. Non-shooters like Ben Simmons get harder and harder to play as the playoff series goes on. And you would think that's probably a team that'd be willing to take a bet on him is a playoff team, but trying to add another dynamic coming off that bench, right? If he can't finish around the rim, if he can't get to the free throw line, if you can't shoot, defenses are going to ignore you. So your passing better and your defensive aspect better be huge for that team. And we'll see, right? Like, again, I'm never against and never going to shit on a player trying to make an NBA return. It's just that it's an uphill battle for Ben Simmons, and we'll see if he can come out on the other side of that. Moving on from that to the next team, the Charlotte Hornets. Kobe White, former Bull, by the way, came out and talked about the team. He said this: we've got a chance to be a really good team. Surprise a lot of people, but we've got to put in the work. And what comes with the work is doing what we're doing now. I think we got a really, really good team. We got a lot of really, really good players. I think we got a lot of unselfish players, so that'll make it easy in terms of coming together. A lot of us are already here now in Charlotte working out, so that's a major step in that. What is it in August? You don't see that in a lot of NBA. So that already shows individually how bought in each player is. So for us, it's just about doing it together, doing it as a collective, getting better each and every day on the court, because I think we all value getting to the brotherhood off the court as well. It's just important as doing stuff on the court. Here's the thing. you should feel good. And I will say this about what Kobe White's saying here. There aren't a lot of teammates that get together at this point, this far away from training camp in that city, because a lot of players go back to the city that they're from or wherever their offseason home is. So the fact that Kobe believes in this team, yeah, the buy-in needs to be real from these players. And if the buy-in is real, we've seen it before. We've seen teams didn't have Phoenix being as good as what they were last year. Can the Charlotte Hornets be the Phoenix Suns of the Eastern Conference? Keep in mind, the Phoenix Suns last year, they moved off of Kevin Durant, and people thought they were going to take a step back. But through the collective, even with the lost star power, they were able to be a better team than what they were with Kevin Durant. Could that be this team? Could this team, with trading LaMelo Ball because of the team aspect of it and the team fitting better, could they be better than what they were last season? Not a lot of people are giving them credit, and it's possible. But at the same time, you lost LaMelo. You lost Miles Bridges. Those are two players that were there, longest tenure Hornets. They were there for a long time. In the East, even outside of that, it's probably going to be more competitive this year than it's been the last few years, even though it's been competitive then too. Summer buy-in does not necessarily guarantee regular season success, but it does give you a leg up and a better chance at that regular season success. And the question many people are asking is this team going to be better without LaMelo Ball? And we'll see, right? They could be a better team with maybe a lower ceiling. Maybe they could be a better team with a higher ceiling. You never know right now. The fact is that they could be a more stable team because they have to do it together, and you're getting all this buyout. But at the same time, LaMelo was an offensive engine to this team, and you lost a lot of playmaking and creativity between him and Miles Bridges. So you're going to have to replace that. But as we've seen, sometimes you can do it as a collective, even if the star power necessarily took a step back. And we got to see if that's going to be there, right? You lost Miles Bridges scoring. You lost LaMelo and his offensive engine ability. But what you've gained, we don't know how Khan's going to take another step. We don't know how these young players are going to exceed. We don't know what's going to happen. Brandon Miller could completely open up his game now with more of the floor and more touches there to him. So we'll see what the future is going to hold there. Last topic of the day before we get up out of here, Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors situation, all this type of thing that's going on with more investigations right now. An insider from the Raptors, an unknown insider, told The Athletic this. A negotiated settlement where the NBA gets to enforce some version of its rules. Ballmer can save face and Leonard can play for the Raptors. Whether Tory's latest findings and the new information on the NBA's investigation or not, a report in The Athletic last month said that a second no-show endorsement deal was already part of the investigation. The sense is that it won't affect the next stage of the process, namely figuring out what the league is going to do with the information that it's collected. So, and this comes from Matt Grange of Sportsnet, who said that, we'll see. Could a negotiation be met to where it allows, Kawhi Leonard to fit? We'll see, right? And, is that the best path for this? Maybe, right? A settlement does make sense. It allows the NBA to enforce its rules. It gives Steve Ballmer a chance to, save a little bit of face, and it allows just you to go on and both teams to solidify this trade and move on to what rest of what they want to do for the offseason and prepare for the season. But the situation is still uncertain. And as new information comes out each and every day, I do think that Toronto and LA for that they have to be careful. Toronto more so at inheriting any risk that's there. And the question people are asking is should Toronto even still want Kawhi? And I say, yeah. Kawhi gives them true star power. And if he's healthy, he makes them a legit contender in that Eastern Conference. For some, people look at it as the favorite. Now, I'm not there, right? But Kawhi in Toronto is a major story. They wanted him back. He wants to go back there. They had success with him there before. He's not that same version of that player, but it's there. In some ways, it's a safety net. But at the same time, at some point, you do have to ask yourself, is it going to get to a point where the risk is just too high for the Toronto Raptors and they just decide to pull out this deal? What's the chances of that happening? I don't know. I'm not even going to put a percentage on it because I truly don't know. But those are some of the questions that I'm sure people within Toronto have to be asking themselves as they have themselves attached to this deal. What ultimately happens with the Kawhi Leonard situation is not up to us. And the NBA is, I don't know if it's fair to call it dragging its feet, but the investigation is taking a while, longer than what a lot of people expected. But at some point, especially as the NBA schedule is set to be released sooner rather than later, you have to make a decision on something like this because I'm sure the nationally televised games for the Toronto Raptors are going to change whether Kawhi's there or not, right? I don't know. But, hey, we'll see what the NBA ends up doing in this, and we'll see what both teams end up doing this. But let me know down below how you feel about this and all the topics. Do you think that Toronto could pull out of the trade? Do you think that they should pull out of the trade? Do you believe Kobe White and him saying that the Charlotte Hornets could could surprise people? Do you think Ben Simmons can actually make an NBA return? And are the Cleveland Cavaliers going to get Peyton Watson or Jonathan Kuminga? Let me know all that down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification icon so you never miss an episode or a live stream. You can follow us at the Full Court YT. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball and NBA related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. I took the weekend off, finally. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Break Media.